buddy? Hope you're having a fantastic day. I would toast to you, but my cup's holding up the camera because my children and the fairies ran away with my rock that I use as a pedestal. Anyways, so I'm out here cleaning up. I made another video this morning that I already shared about pruning your watermelon, so check that out. But right now, I am taking all of the flowers and the little attachy things that they make. I'm sure they have some scientific name. Anyways, I'm taking all of those off so that I can use them for spell work, and then I am doing an experiment with the flowers to see if they make a good incense. Watermelons don't make an abundant amount of flowers, so it's not like you get a lot. And then once they dry, they pretty much dry up to look like nothing. So I think that it'll be a whole year's worth of these really pretty flowers that then dry up to look like this one was drying on the plant. You can see it's already starting to like get little and stuff. But anyways, that's not why I started the video. I started the video because yesterday I had a great meeting with some fantastic people. We were just hanging out. It's been a long time. And we had a lot of fun conversations, but one of the conversations we talked about was how hard it is to communicate these days, because people are like, if you have a different opinion, somebody's bound to get their feelings hurt and take it offensively or whatever it may be. And you just, there's just something for everybody. And right now we're in this crazy place where there are people at both polar opposite ends of so many different extremes, and people have so much trouble communicating and coming to the table and working together. And I think that a lot of people feel like if you have a different opinion, so like say you there watching this video has a different opinion than me, if we were to discuss our opinions and I was to tell you my opinion and then you were to tell me your opinion, it would almost progress into an argument about whose opinion was right. Well, the question is, why do both people have to be right? Okay, yeah, there are some things. Racism is wrong. There's no getting around that. Racism is a part of our institutionalization of everything. It is everywhere. And it's wrong, and we just need to move past that. Pedophilia is wrong. We should just move past that. It doesn't have to be something that we hide under the rug or in the closets or wherever. No, we should openly talk about it. We should openly talk about how wrong these things are. And I'm sorry, if you believe that pedophilia or racism or, those kind of things are okay, then you are wrong. And it's not about agreeing to disagree. You need to reevaluate why you think those things. Now, with that said, because I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea about this, with that said, aside from those topics, why does somebody have to be right? I like to tell people when I'm at festivals, I'm like, everybody finds God or the divine, this universal energy, whatever you call it, in their own way, because it comes to you how it comes to you. That doesn't make your way right and my way wrong, or vice versa. That just makes them different. And so this morning I was pondering. I was like, well, when did this begin? When did we begin to think that everybody had to be the same? You know what? No, it's always been that way. And now we are, as a society, as a global society, learning and changing and seeing that things can be different, and that it doesn't have to be everybody the same. We can see the beauty in all of these differences. Differences are good. It used to be, in order to survive, me and mine and blah, 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 and all of those things. And we as modern humans, okay, if you watch Naked and Afraid, I think that you can get a good idea on what our ancestors, I'm talking a long time ago, not in this era, like in that era, I mean common era, I saw a post this morning that said it's very important for pagans to use before common era and common era instead of before Christ and after death. And the AD, BCE, BE, whatever. And I don't think that most people even got like a notification like, hey, it's not AD anymore. But I think that it's important to say those things for people to understand that the world we live in right now, after the death of Jesus, is a much different place than it was and all of the time before that. And when we start talking about practicing the ways of our ancestors and ancients, we got to go back more than 2,000 years. But anyway, but that's an opinion. That's my opinion. See, there's two opinions. He's not wrong for saying what he said. I love his opinion. I like that it brings light to the idea and it talks about it and it says this is important. We should no longer point out that our time is distinguished by the death of Christ. However, I, on the other side of that, agree. It sucks that we have our calendar based off of the Christian faith. However, the entire modern calendar was created based off the Christian faith, and when the ancient Romans changed from paganism to Christianity and didn't want to have to match up all their calendars and blah, blah, blah. I've made other videos about the whole calendar thing. I'm sure I'll go into that more later. But when we're talking about using that calendar or this calendar, I think that it's important to say this calendar is based after the death of Jesus, when everything in our world was based off of Christianity and the government was based off Christianity or some form of monotheism, and that these are the things that are dictating the way that our government and our world and our society are working. If we go back before that, I know everybody's like, oh, it was brutal and chaotic and people were crazy back then, and that's not always true. There were good people back then too. The history is written in the eyes of those who won, so of course they talk about everybody who came before them as bad. But when we use that calendar date and that terminology, I think it opens up that conversation line, and I think that it helps people to see that, hey, oh, okay, wait, before Christ, this is how they tracked the holidays. Let's say the blue moon. Before Christ, they tracked the blue moon in that it was the third blue moon in a cycle of full moons. Now in modern times, and I know that it has nothing to do with that death and whatever, but it is the transition in the thought from that lunar calendar to this Gregorian, which I'm probably saying that wrong, but whatever, modern calendar, and all of that stuff. But those are all opinions. So bringing me back to the whole, why can't we have open conversations without everybody getting all upset? And I think that it's important, especially in the eclectic nature of the pagan community, that we be able to come together and at least discuss, like, oh, you call to Hades, that's awesome. I call to whoever. You call to Diana, I call to Diana. Your Diana has blonde hair, well, mine has brown. Probably relative of the hair that we have, because the divine are a representation of the energy that resides within ourselves that we see. And there's so many more complicated things to go off of that. But it's important, in order for our community to grow and for pagans to be able to connect and come together, that we be able to have a conversation without trying to push our beliefs on another person. If you disagree with what I'm saying, that's awesome. I would love to hear more about that. I'm not saying my opinion as though it is the end all be all, unless we're talking about racism, because it's wrong. But so I guess there are some opinions that should be universal. We should respect each other. You treat people the way you want to be treated, and I think that that's an important. I wish I could remember the Japanese word for it right now, because I think that it's better than that saying. But anyways, it just is about that, being a good person and being respectful. And you wouldn't want somebody to be a jerk to you when you're trying to share your opinion and share your feelings and your thoughts, especially about your spirituality. And honestly, I feel like, my mom always used to say it to me, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. And people question it, they're like, well, if we only say nice things, then whatever. But, you can disagree nicely. I can say, hey, I hear that you call to a three-headed dog. That's kind of scary for me, and I would be intimidated by that. But more power to you. I call to not a three-headed dog. I don't know why I always use Hades' dog as the example. It just seems like it's that extreme. But I've met people who actually do that. And when I say that to them, they're like, oh, I do call to that dog. And, it's just one of those things. So when you're going out to have conversations with other people and you're going to talk about your spirituality, or you're perusing Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or wherever you're talking to other pagans and you're getting into those conversations, disagree in a polite way. You don't have to be an asshole. You can say it nicely. You can say, you believe in the flow of cosmic energy? Well, tell me more about that. Why does it have to be, let's argue about it? Can't we just listen to somebody else? And then you take your turn and be like, oh, you believe in that? Well, here's what I believe in. Not as a, I'm arguing with you, but as a, we're sharing ideas, because we have a very eclectic community. So, I just felt like that really had to be said, because there are a lot of opinions out there, and there are a lot of people who are scared to ask, or scared to talk about it, or scared to whatever, because they don't want to be judged. They don't want people to tell them they're wrong. You see that baby witch all the time, and there's always somebody on there who's like, don't call yourself a baby. And why does it really matter? You don't want to be called a baby witch? Fine, don't call yourself a baby witch. Labels are there for you to help you identify who you are, and then in order to move forward. When we start using labels to identify other people, and we start putting those labels or our labels or whatever labels on other people, that's when we start getting into problems. That's when racism and bigotry and opinions start to become the problem. But if I want to self-identify as whatever I want to self-identify as, then that's what I self-identify as, and you can't tell me what that's wrong. And so I think that comes on a grand scale. I had to watch that documentary about, what's it called? I think her name's Rachel Dayton, something like that. I don't know. The lady who is a white lady who self-identifies as a black lady. I had to watch that documentary 3 or 4 times so that I could really, really get into that. And what was crazy for me is there's a place in the movie where she's interviewing with this other person, and this other person is like, I identify as a white woman, and physically he was a black male. And even to see the very eclectic community that was there watching them, obviously these are people who watch him do interviews all the time, all of them still had that look on their face. Like, it was okay for him to be transgendered, but when he started talking about being a transgendered white person, sitting next to this lady who's white, who wants to be a black person, who feels she self-identifies as a black person. So if you want to self-identify as whatever it is you want to self-identify as, you know what? That's more power to you. And if we want to live in a society where people don't feel scared to be who they are, then we need to stop pointing fingers and identifying what other people are. I can't point at you and say, you're a baby witch, and you're an old witch, and you're a garden witch, and you're a black witch, and you're an orange witch, whatever. These kind of things, we just have to move past. You can't point that finger. You can't decide for somebody else. And when you start a conversation with someone, you can't go into it thinking that I'm going to make everybody just like me, because the world would suck and you would be dating your mom. So, nobody wants to date their mom. But if everybody was just like me, we would all be like your mom. And that is just the reality of it. So, that's what I like to tell people who are racist. Anyways, so, well, next time you start a conversation with somebody, go into it with a with an open mind and an open heart, and not into it thinking that this person's here to condemn me and turn me into something I'm not. And don't turn people into something they're not by making assumptions. Ask a question. Don't assume. And don't put labels on them, and don't tell them that they can't have their label, because that's messed up. So I hope everybody finds someone that they can have a fantastic conversation with today. I hope that your day is bright and that people are nice and honest and have integrity. And I think that these are the values that we should be searching for. So, with that note, I'll show you this very pretty flower, and I say thank you, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I think it's amazing how they have 5 petals. Maybe we'll make a video about sacred geometry tomorrow. You'll have to subscribe to find out. See you later. Let's see if I can do this like they do on those TikTok videos. Oh, it's happening.